In the winter of 1856, when Ohio's fields lay frozen beneath a sky the color of old bone, the village of Black Hollow existed in a state of permanent unease. It was the sort of place where sound traveled too far and silence traveled farther, where the church bell rang not to comfort but to warn. People whispered that the land itself remembered things, burials done too quickly, prayers spoken too late. It was here that Eleanor Whitcomb went into labor on a night so cold the ink in the town ledger cracked like ice. Dr. Silas Harrow had delivered more children than he could count. Yet, as he crossed the Whitcomb threshold, something in his chest tightened. The air inside the house felt thick, stale, as if it had already been breathed too many times. Eleanor screamed in a way that was wrong, not sharp, not panicked, but low and continuous, like something tearing slowly apart. The midwife crossed herself again and again, whispering prayers that seemed to sink into the floor without echo. When the first child emerged, the room fell silent. The baby did not cry. It stared. Its eyes were open, dark, and far too focused, tracking movement as if it understood the room. "Doctor." Harrow barely had time to register the unnatural stillness before Eleanor convulsed again. A second child followed, identical in face, identical in still gaze, joined to the first by a slick, pulsing mass of flesh at the shoulder. Before the doctor could speak, before anyone could scream, a third child emerged, completing a grotesque symmetry that left even the candles trembling. They were not merely triplets. They were connected, not fully separate, not fully one. 3 torsos, 3 heads, but their spines fused into a single twisted column, their hearts beating in a strange, overlapping rhythm beneath shared skin. Dr. Harrow felt his knees weaken. In all his years of study, in all the medical texts shipped from Boston and Philadelphia, he had never seen anything like this. And yet, something deep inside him whispered that this was not a medical anomaly at all. It was a correction. Eleanor died before dawn. Not from blood loss, the doctor noted, but from exhaustion so complete it seemed as though something had drained her entirely. The triplets lived. They breathed in unison, slept in unison, and when one opened its eyes, the others followed. The townspeople gathered outside the Whitcomb house, murmuring. Some claimed the children were a punishment. Others said they were a sign. No one dared to say what they truly thought, that Black Hollow had finally given birth to something it had been holding inside for generations. The triplets were named Mercy, Abel, and Jonah, though no one could ever be certain which name belonged to which face. They grew slowly, unnaturally so, their bodies gaining size without truly gaining independence. When one laughed, the sound came from all 3 mouths at once, layered and wrong. When one cried, the others wept bloodless tears, as if echoing pain they did not individually feel. Dr. Harrow visited often, compelled by equal parts duty and dread. He recorded measurements, heartbeats, reflexes. He wrote letters to medical colleges, though he never sent them. Something stopped his hand every time he tried. The triplets reacted poorly to separation. When he once attempted to gently turn one head away from the others, all 3 began to convulse, their shared spine tightening until the skin around it bruised black. They were calm only when facing the same direction, only when seeing the same thing. As they learned to speak, the true horror revealed itself. They did not say "I." They said "we," not as children taught to share, but as beings incapable of conceiving singular existence. They finished each other's sentences, spoke thoughts aloud that no one had voiced. They knew when someone in town was sick before symptoms appeared. They knew when an animal would die. Once, Mercy, or perhaps Abel, looked directly at Dr. Harrow and calmly described his wife's grave, though she had been buried a decade earlier. The townspeople began to avoid the Whitcomb house. Crops near it grew thick and black, choking the soil. Animals refused to cross its shadow. At night, villagers claimed they could hear 3 voices humming from inside, harmonizing with something beneath the earth. The church condemned the children, but the pastor refused to step inside the house himself. "Some sins," he said, "are older than Scripture." The triplets never learned to walk properly. They moved by dragging their combined weight forward in a slow, synchronized crawl. Yet, they did not need to move much. People came to them instead, first out of curiosity, Then, out of fear, the triplets answered questions no one had asked aloud. They spoke of deaths before they happened, of secrets buried in fields and under floorboards. Each revelation tightened the noose around Black Hollow's collective throat. Dr. Harrow began to suspect the impossible.